going, ladies and gentlemen. We've invited first class, now we're inviting executive platinum, emerald, sapphire.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Crew Travel right here on Yachting International Radio. My name is Ria. I am your host, and I'm very pleased to welcome back semi-lockdown Lee Harris. How are you?
I'm very good. Yeah, semi-lockdown is better than full lockdown, I've got to say. We have had human interaction this week, so I'm feeling slightly more normal, I've got to say.
Yeah, well, you know, human interaction isn't all that it's cracked up to be honest.
It's true. I mean, the people I've met this week have been okay, so it's fine. We're okay at the moment. Next week could be a completely different story.
So what's the deal then with the way you guys are right now, New Zealand? You're back to almost normal, but the stores, you've got restrictions on numbers, you're wearing masks again, etc.
Yeah, so the way it's working here at the moment is Auckland is still level 4, which is the highest restriction. Basically, everything's shut. They've got to stay indoors, half an hour exercise a day, all the rest of it, because that's the one area that's got all of the Delta variant cases at the moment. For the rest of the country, we're now down to level 2, basically, which is, like you say, restrictions on numbers in shops, masks everywhere you go, no more than 50 people or 100 people or whatever it is in cinemas and all the rest of it. So, you know, it's lockdown-like, but it's good. Like I say, we can get back in the office, we can speak, we can talk to people. So, yeah, definitely a lot easier this week than it has been anyway.
Now, was it Auckland where the outbreak started as well?
Yeah, so the person came into Auckland, they travelled to another part of New Zealand called the Coromandel, but unbelievably so, the Coromandel didn't get any cases whatsoever, which is odd in itself, bearing in mind it was a person with the Delta variant, and Auckland have been hit hard. So, yeah, unfortunately for those guys, they're still in level 4, while the rest of us are now down to level 2.
Well, it just goes to show how quickly things can escalate when it's not detected. So we all have to be on guard for sure. I have to mention that Crew Travel is brought to you weekly by Blue Marine Travel, who haven't lost a passenger since Lee and I were born back in the 70s, which is a good thing when you're a travel company.
Indeed. I'm not laughing at all, Ria. We were both born in the 70s. That is correct.
We were, and actually, according to the millennial generation, we were born in the late 1900s.
How depressing is that?
Can you imagine? Now we're tagged now. You know, it's almost like, you know, our generation saying the late 1800s. Yeah, they're saying the late 1900s. So if nothing makes you feel old, that will.
Oh, that makes me feel really old, I've got to say. Really, really old. So thanks for that.
Oh, well, we'll go down in history now. What's going on in the world of travel? US has more restrictions or more restrictions placed on them?
Yeah, they have, unfortunately. Over to last week's update, where we talked about Italy putting restrictions in place for unvaccinated holiday this summer. It's been announced this week that France and Spain have also now announced new rules for unvaccinated US crew looking for holidays. US travellers who are not vaccinated will no longer be permitted to enter France restriction-free, as the country has added the US to its orange list. The decision has been taken after a surge in COVID-19 infections in the US. Thus, from September the 12th, US nationals who have not been vaccinated are allowed to travel to France only for essential purposes. That's by presenting a negative test taken before traveling and self-isolation for 7 days upon arrival. So crew going in for work, totally fine. Holidays, not fine at all. That's for France. Spain also imposed more stringent measures in place for American travelers. Since September the 6th, unvaccinated US nationals are not allowed to enter the Spanish territory without presenting vaccination proof or a negative test certificate. Furthermore, Denmark have also added restrictions for unvaccinated US passengers, meaning travellers will now have to provide a PCR or antigen test taken before departure and also quarantine for 10 days on arrival. It's not all doom and gloom for US crew who are looking for holidays. Croatia and Ireland have both rejected the European Union's recommendation to tighten entry requirements for anyone travelling from the USA. Both Croatia and Ireland reaffirmed their commitment to allow US travellers safe entry into their respective countries without the need for quarantine.
Wow. I mean, you know, the goalposts are being changed every single week, and there's not a single week that goes by where it's nice and quiet, which is unfortunate. EU citizens, what's going on with them now?
Yeah, so this is all to do with Brexit. We've sort of spoken about the new rules in place for the UK, crew who are going to be travelling to Europe. Now, on the flip side of that, citizens from the European Union, the European Economic Area, as well as Switzerland, will now be obliged to present a valid passport when showing up at the ports of entry for the United Kingdom, starting from October the 1st. According to authorities in the UK, travellers from the territories mentioned above will no longer be permitted to enter the UK by presenting only their national identity cards, which they could do before. However, citizens of Ireland can continue to use their ID cards in order to reach the UK beyond this date.
So basically, it's the same as any other country now. England is, and the UK is. You know, you're traveling into the UK, it's another country. You've got to have your passport. It's not part of the EU. It's a normal thing.
Exactly right. Yeah. Whereas before you could just travel on your identity card, and it's quite amazing, really, how many people were traveling just on identity cards. You know, that you would get asked that question in travel, but yeah, unfortunately now no longer available. As from the 1st of October, you've got to have a passport and you've got to travel with it. So
what's the story with Qantas?
Yeah, we've talked about Qantas on the show numerous times with the talk that they were going to ban unvaccinated travellers. Well, this week, the boss of Qantas, Alan Joyce, has confirmed that the airline will not allow unvaccinated passengers to travel with Qantas internationally. Qantas is eyeing a mid-December restart for international flying, and as we've spoken about previously on this show, they have run a successful incentive program to encourage its passengers to vaccinate. Qantas have taken a hard stance on the vaccination debate, and they further said that they will have a policy that international travel will only be allowed if they are carrying vaccinated passengers. That's because they think it's going to be one of the requirements to show that you're flying safely and getting into other countries that way. They're also confident they will have the policy in place by Christmas. Now, along with passengers, the airlines have also stated that they want all 22,000 staff members to be double vaccinated against COVID. Frontline staff have until mid-November to get vaccinated, whereas office-based workers have until March next year to make sure they are fully vaccinated as well.
Well, and I think we all saw this coming. I mean, you know, we talked about it even a month or so ago, that eventually I thought that, you know, any flight you would be, you know, having to show proof of vaccination. But the sort of arguments that are heating up straight across the face of the planet between the vaccination and those that are non-vacciners, it's pretty heated out there. Like, there is no sort of middle ground. It's just hot, and you see it straight across social media. But I think Florida just announced, I saw on the news this morning actually, that Florida has imposed, if anybody states within the state of Florida, if anybody even asks for proof of vaccination in the state of Florida, the government can charge them $5,000.
That's crazy, isn't it? If somebody, are we talking if a business or somebody asks somebody for proof of vaccination?
A business, government, anything. If you walk into a restaurant and they ask you for proof of vaccination before they serve you, they can complain and the government can charge that restaurant $5,000.
Wow, they've gone completely the other way, haven't they? That's yeah, I've not heard that. So that's an interesting take on it, I guess. But I mean, it's a difficult one, isn't it? You know, I don't know where I sit really, I've got to say, on the whole only traveling if you're vaccinated. Because I mean, obviously there are going to be people who can't be vaccinated for whatever reason. So where do they sit? You know what, they can't have holidays anymore, or they get special exemptions. You know, it's a difficult one. But like you say, you know, Qantas are going to be the first of many, I'm sure. Next month or two, I'm sure you'll find a lot more airlines that are going to follow suit, that's for sure.
Well, I got to tell you, my personal opinions on it are we all have our rights. And I understand that if you have your right to choose not to be vaccinated, but your employer also has the right to say, do you know what, this is my company, I don't want to employ you without a vaccination. And I think that has to be understood. Nobody's rights are any more important than anybody else's. And I don't care whether you're talking about a business, because generally speaking, unless you're talking about a corporation, but generally speaking, a lot of these businesses are mom and pop organizations owned by one entity. And if they prefer only to have people working for them that are vaccinated for their own safety or for their own peace of mind, they have a right to say that. And it's the same with people coming in. They have a right to say, you know what, I don't want to serve people who are unvaccinated, for the simple fact that we all know what happens if an outbreak happens in said restaurant. They're shut down. You know, they've got it impacts them financially. So if they're stating we're not allowing people in, they have every right to, but it just seems like people are forgetting that everybody has rights. It seems that we are putting ourselves, whatever our opinion is, as more important than other people's opinion. And it's sad to see, because the argument is just, oh my goodness, it's so harsh straight across social media.
It is, yeah. I mean, literally just before we done this interview, I was just quickly scanning through social media, and I think probably out of about 7 or 8 posts, there was about 3 or 4, you know, nearly 50% was on the whole debate of people trying to get people to sign petitions and all the rest of it with regards to your rights and what governments can do and what businesses can do and all the rest of it. But yeah, I mean, you're exactly right. Like you say, everybody has rights. You know, it's not just you as an individual who has a right. Businesses have rights as well. And like you say, if that's their policy, then that's their policy. You can't go, if you're not prepared to follow that policy, then you don't go there. That's as simple as that.
Yeah. No, I don't know. And you know what? If we all put as much, you know, work into cleaning up the environment, I think we'd have a better world, to be honest. And we're not even going to have a planet here in about 60, 70 years if we don't pay attention to that. But meanwhile, we're all complaining about the fact that, oh no, we need to, you know, you've been eating McDonald's chicken nuggets for like 60 years. We don't know what's in that either, but carry on. It is what it is, right? Emirates, what's going on there?
Yeah, so Emirates are planning to expand its services into South Africa to 28 weekly flights. That's starting in October. On one of the 2 Emirates daily services to Johannesburg, the airline will be utilizing the A380 to allow for greater capacity. The airline will also be offering daily flights to both Cape Town and Durban as from the 31st of October. Obviously, this is great news, in particular for South African crew looking to travel for the Caribbean season, as Dubai is one of the major gateways to transit via. And
something that I find really cool, and of course it's Miami, because Miami has a history of using dogs for everything, and you know it's a known drug smuggling area, so they've got dogs checking that out. But Miami now has dogs that can detect COVID.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. I think this is super cool. So anyway, Miami International Airport has taken a groundbreaking step in its efforts to reduce the risk of coronavirus on its premises. Specifically, it has become the first US airport to deploy sniffer dogs to detect whether or not a given passenger or airport worker might be COVID-19 infected as such. The airport presently has 2 dogs on a 30-day trial, and studies have shown that these 2 dogs are able to detect COVID-19 on a person with a 96 to 99% accuracy rate. Now, how it works is that the COVID virus produces volatile organic compounds within humans, which is excreted in your breath or sweat and creates a unique scent. Sounds very attractive, doesn't it? And these dogs, they're trained to recognize the smell, and they can alert their handlers to the presence of COVID-19.
That's so cool. So we could possibly see these dogs at every single massive airport around the face of the sniffing for COVID.
I mean, you've already got dogs there, haven't you? I mean, especially when you go to the US and you've got the dogs following you around the line, and everybody starts to panic a little bit, even though they know they're perfectly fine, just in case the dog comes near. But yeah, I mean, what a great way. I mean, especially if they've got a 96 to 99% accuracy rate, brilliant.
I mean, I'm not even sure the tests are, you know, right around the same as well, the actual tests. So if you've got dogs doing the job, that's immediate. Perfect.
Yeah, great.
I want those dogs.
I mean, they can have my dog. I mean, it can't do anything, but they can have it.
Yeah, you know what? I mean, the fact that they got them trained so quickly to sniff it out, or figured out that there was a smell that was associated with it. I'm just glad that us humans don't have that kind of sense of smell, because it's bad enough in the summertime in Mallorca, you know, with the tourists that come over here that don't realize that, you know, there's issues with heat. Can you imagine having to smell all those other things? Anyways, rambling on as per usual. Crew questions this week. What's going on?
Yeah, we received a question from Romulo wanting to know if there was a new procedure with regards to health declarations needed to enter the Philippines. The news, Romulo, is yes, there has been a change this last couple of weeks. Basically, it's now a mandatory entry requirement for all travellers, including children and infants, to complete a health declaration prior to boarding flights to the Philippines. It's a two-step process, and it works as follows. So step one, prior to departure date, and it's got to be prior to departure date, you have to register through website www.onehealthpass.com.ph and complete all the required fields. Please ensure that a copy of the unique transaction number you receive is saved. This number will be required for the EHDC registration on the day of departure. Step two, this is now on the day of departure. All passengers must go back to the website www.onehealthpass.com.ph and fill in the EHDC form. You have to enter your unique transaction number that you got from stage one, and this will allow passengers to retrieve their records, which will direct the passengers to the health declaration process. Once you've completed all of the information, the passenger then receives the unique QR code, which will be required during check-in. If you don't have the QR code and you've not followed the two-step process as mentioned, then you will be denied boarding.
Well, and you also have to name, your first animal that you ever had, and your mother's maiden name, and your father's maiden name, and your great-grandmother twice removed.
You do, and also the secret handshake, don't forget that.
It's just getting so complicated nowadays. I don't even remember my own name sometimes. I'm getting to that age now, so it's like all this paperwork. But you know what? The price we pay. And I'm going to ask you again before I let you go today, what's going on with European citizens heading over to the US for Fort Lauderdale International Boat Show?
Still radio silence, unfortunately, Ria. There is nothing new to report. It's the same situation we've been in for the last 18 months. If you're in the red zone, EU countries, UK, Ireland, China, Brazil, India, South Africa, at this moment in time, you can't travel to the US for touristic purposes.
Well, yeah, but that's not really touristic, is it? It's work.
Well, it is work, but it's unless you've got a B1, B2 or a C1D,
Exactly.
And you're going to work on a yacht in US waters, then unfortunately it's a big fat no at the moment.
Great. Well, there goes my international travel dreams dashed. But who knows? It could change tomorrow.
Exactly right. This time next week, we could be sitting here and everything's hunky-dory and you could be flying away to Fort Lauderdale.
So, well, that's been an interesting week, of course, as per usual. Fingers crossed that next week we have better news in regards to FLIBS, because I know that there's a lot of people that are looking forward to heading that way for Fort Lauderdale International Boat Show, of course, happening at the end of October.
Yeah, I mean, we really need it to start opening up, especially, coming to the end of the European season and the Caribbean opening up as well. The US is a major gateway to get between the two, to transit in. And at this moment in time, if you've only got a B1, B2 or an ESTA, you can't transit through there anyway, even if you are a seafarer. So, with FLIBS coming up and the Caribbean season starting, we really do need it to start seeing open up soon.
Right. Well, you're going to make sure to provide us with that link for the crew question, the Philippines, the forms that they've got to fill out.
I will do indeed. I'll send it straight after we finish.
Nice. Perfect. Well, Lee, I got to say thank you once again. It's been an absolute pleasure, and the information is invaluable.
It's always a pleasure for me. So, all good. And I will see you this time next week.
I'm the highlight of your week, be honest.
The highlight at the end of my week.
I just my life stories give you a feel good for the rest of your week, because you know that there's no way that you're actually, though, this week I had a pretty good week, so we can't say that anymore.
You've been living the dream. Yeah, Ria's been living the dream of a superstar.
Yeah, I was on a super yacht yesterday. I had a charter on a super yacht, and you will see all the footage coming up on Yachting International Radio in about 3 months' time. But I gotta say, I felt like a princess, having people bring me whatever I needed. I mean, it was pretty cool. I could live that way.
I bet I could as well. Yeah. Next time, don't forget who your friends are next time you get an invite. That's all I'm saying.
Lee, could you just, fly from New Zealand? Yeah.
Yeah, I can do that for a super yacht.
Oh yeah, no, it's pretty cool. I gotta say, I've been on super yachts before, but just, doing a tour in the ports, that kind of thing. I actually haven't gone out to sea. Partially because I was afraid I was going to get seasick, and I didn't get seasick at all, knock on wood. So that's good news for some of the future stuff work that I've got lined up coming up this year. But it's cool. It's pretty cool. I got to say, I now feel the joy.
You've got the bug.
I do. Look out. Right. I have to say once again that Crew Travel is brought to you weekly by Blue Marine Travel, who haven't lost a passenger since Lee and I were born in the late 1900s. I'm going to start saying that all the time now, just because, it makes us sound ancient, which is so much fun.
It sounds like we've just been dug up.
Just for the day. Just for the day.
Yeah.
My name is Ria. I have been your host. We'll see you again next week.